Hello everyone, welcome back to today's episode. So, Harry and Meghan's recent visit to Jordan has once again demonstrated why they continue to demand such powerful global attention. Invited in connection with humanitarian engagement and international development work, the Sussex approached the trip with level of focus, empathy, professionalism that reminded many observers why they have successfully resharpened their public role beyond palace wall. So the imaginary coming out of Jordan was not about spectacle, it was about substance. It showed connection, dignity, hands-on involvement with community oft overlooked by traditional royal tours. From the moment they arrived, the tone felt marked different from the rich ceremonial visit often associated with the monarchy. So Harry and Meghan lean into conversations with families, listen to humanitarian work, and center displaced communities rather than themselves. That distinction matters. In an age where audiences are increasingly spectacle of symbolic gesture, what resonates is authenticity. The Sussex Jordan appearance felt modern, collaborative, and rooted in live realities rather than rehearsed pageantry. Observers noted how effortless they navigated cultural sensitivity. Because if you look at Meghan in particular, has developed a diplomatic approach that combines warmth with attentiveness. Her ability to communicate across cultural lines, to kneel beside children, to engage women in discussion about opportunities and resilience continues to shape her global image as someone who understands the emotional weight of advocacy work. So Harry draws from community rebuilding and trauma-informed approach. Together they presented a partnership that functioned as equal. So the reaction online was swift and telling. Social platform were flooded with supportive commentary praising their impact. Many commentators highlighted how free from palace constraint Harry and Meghan appear more aligned with their purpose. Instead of competing with royal headlines, they now define their own narrative. Has allowed them to cultivate partnership that feels less performative and more mission driven. The ability to command international media coverage without resilience on royal infrastructure underscores how successfully they have transitioned into independent global figures. So it's this independence that some believes as unsettled traditional royals dynamic. For decades, the royal hierarchy depends on proximity to the crown to determine visibility. Yet in Jordan, the spotlight wasn't filtered through institutional positioning. It was organic, it was global, and generated by genuine public interest. That shift represents something larger than a single visit. It symbolizes an evolving understanding of influence. Influence today is measured not just in title but in relevance. So against the backdrop, narrative began circulating, suggesting frustration within royal circle, particularly concerning Prince William. Commentary in a certain outlet painted a picture of internal tension with suggestion that the Jordan success intensified long-standing comparison between the brothers. And it is important to approach this claim cautiously, as palace communication rarely confirm emotional responses of private conversation. However, what cannot be ignored in the constructing public perceptions around recent engagement by both couples. William has long been positioned as the future of the monarchy, carrying the institutional weight of continuity, but with continuity comes scrutiny. When media narrative begins juxtaposing his engagement against Harry and Meghan's independent work, the comparison often centers on energy, tone, and adaptability. But where the Sussex are seen as unfiltered and ugly, the William is sometimes viewed as operating within framework that limits spontaneity. That perspective may not fully reflect the reality, but in public discourse, perception shape headlines. So, report framed that Jordan visit as a moment that humiliated the traditional system because it demonstrated how successfully Harry and Meghan function outside it. So that framing inevitably cast William as a counterpoint figure. Critics argue that instead of allowing space for coexistence between different approach to service a certain role narrative respond defensively. Whether or not direct threats were ever issued, the mere circulation of that storyline speaks to undercurrent of rivalry amplified by media ecosystem that thrive on tension. So the idea of William spiraling reflects how some commentator interprets visible strain. Public appearance, can be dissected independently with body language and speech tone analyzed frame by frame. So in this climate, even subtitle shifts sometimes become evidence for larger theories. It could be unfair to reduce complex family dynamic to simplistic calculature, yet in equal evidence that ongoing comparison call service neither stability or unity. So, if anything, the Jordan visit demonstrated that influence does not have to be zero-sum. Harry and Meghan's success does not inherently diminish William's role. However, when institutional narrative lean into competition, they risk reinforcing the very diversion they seek to downplay. So the public, particularly younger generation, increasingly reject hierarchical rivalry in favor of collaborative impact. They respond to result more than rank. Harry and Meghan trajectory suggests confidence in their chosen path. Since stepping back from the royal duties, they have steadily built a portfolio that blends advocacy, media production, and philanthropic work. Each international appearance strengthened the narrative that their exist was not retreat but redirection. And Jordan added another chapter to the story, that a chapter characterized by dignity, preparation, and message clarity. For William, the challenge moving forward may be one of the narrative recalibration. As here, he carries institutional responsibility that limits flexibility, yet the world around him is evolving rapidly. Audience are less patient with scripted distance and more responsive to tangled engagement. The contrast highlighted by Jordan could serve as an opportunity rather than a threat. So it represents a moment for reflection on how tradition can adapt without losing identity. Ultimately, what resonated most from Jordan was the absence of defensiveness from the Sussex. There were no direct references to palace tension, no subtitle jabs, no competitive framing. They appear focused solely on the mission at hand. That composure strengthened their public image in a media environment eager to provoke conflict. Restraint can be powerful. The broader lesson emerging from this episode today is that modern influence is decentralized. Royal lineage alone no longer guarantees global resonance. So empathy, clarity of mission, and visibility consistency matter just as much. So Harry and Meghan seems to understand that landscape intuitively. Their Jordan success was not merely about headline. It was about demonstrating how service can transcend institutional boundary. As global audience look forward, they may care less about who are threatened and more about demonstrated impact. If Jordan is any indication, Harry and Meghan will continue positioning themselves in space where humanitarian visibility intersect with cultural sensitivity. And if traditional royal structure feel pressure in response, then that pressure may ultimately be sign not of humiliation but of changing world where influence is earned daily, not inherited permanently. Thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we love you.